The ongoing scarcity of petrol is getting worse on the evidence of seemingly endless vehicular queues at filling stations in the major economic centers of Nigeria. This is the situation despite repeated assurances by the government that there would soon be greater availability of the scarce product. Well, joining us now for a quick catch-up on the relevant angles to the matter is Dr. Billy S. Gillis-Harry, the National President of Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria. What is the level of interface between his group and the government about resolving the problem, and what can be considered the most realistic time for Nigerians to expect this much-needed resolution? Good morning, Mr. Harry, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, Arise. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get straight into it. With the persistent scarcity of petrol leading to these unending queues at filling stations across Nigeria, how would you assess the effectiveness, first off, of the existing policies and regulations in managing the distribution and pricing of petroleum products, particularly during the periods of high demand and limited supply? Are there any structural or systemic issues within the petroleum industry that we are seeing continuously contributing to these recurring fuel shortages, or even speaking on logistical issues? And if so, what reforms or interventions do you propose to address them and get Nigerians out of this fuel scarcity situation?
Well, I think the point to start with is the contents of the PIA. The contents of the PIA clearly stipulates the processes by which petroleum distribution should be effectively handled. NMDPRA, as the regulatory authority, that's the policeman of the industry for everybody, including NNPCs, policed by NMDPRA. Issues us licenses. We try to make sure we qualify for that according to the stringent conditions, and it's even getting more stringent today because of price, cost inputs. And then we get registered with NNPC, that is the sole importer of PMS, on their platform, and then we apply for the products, and then applications approved, and then we pay for it. And of course, we await the batching process, and then product is given to us. We try to make sure we take care of the logistics, and it gets to our retail outlets, and then the commuters, farmers, housewives, medical doctors, journalists, everyone, gets access to the product. And that's how critical petrol is. And that's why we take our job very seriously. However, in these processes that I've just enumerated, the first challenge will be timely operation. The second challenge would also be availability of petroleum product. NNPC, being the sole importer, has their own internal business mechanics by which they determine how and when to import and how and when to distribute. But in this situation today, we've had some brief sessions with them, and we've made some suggestions, and you called the name rightly, intervention activities. NNPC has walked that talk as we speak today. I believe that in the coming days, not coming weeks, coming days, petroleum product will be out there in so many retail outlets. That's how far I can go for now.
All right, Dr. Gillis-Harry, thanks for setting the tone for the conversation. But tell us first, what is the situation in Port Harcourt? We know how tough it is in Lagos as we speak today. A lot of people also say that across most states, including Abuja, the queues are horrendous. First, what is the situation that we have currently in Port Harcourt, where you're speaking from? And secondly, why do you think we should believe you now or believe the NNPC, given the initial promise that it was merely logistics that caused the scarcity, and that in a matter of days before last Wednesday, everything will be rectified? Here we are, it's Saturday. You are now asking us, because you believe that NNPC has walked its talk, and that in a matter of days and not weeks, things will normalize. Why should we believe you? Why should Nigerians believe NNPC?
Well, you have to believe me. You have to believe Petron now, because we do not talk issues that we do not have verifiable evidence. We have verifiable evidence of what the scenario is as of this morning, this Saturday morning. And that's why we can very boldly say that in the coming days, there will be some level of reprieve that will, start to normalize the situation. In Port Harcourt here, Petron is very active in this zone, very, very active in this System 2E. So our members, and of course the IPMA members who are also collaborating with us, we make sure that our members simply walk according to the rules. So if you have products in your station, we know when you got it and we know how you are selling it. And so in the course of this scarcity in other areas, some of our stations that have product are very busy selling even above time. Some of them closing as late as 8 o'clock. And that's why you are not seeing the kind of queues that you are seeing in other parts of the country in Port Harcourt. But that does not mean that the scarcity did not hit Port Harcourt. It hit us very badly. And so that's why you can see in some areas the product will sell far above 670 naira. But all that is going to be taken care of shortly. Why will you believe us? Because NNPC is now working directly with us. We have just risen up from a meeting about 3 o'clock this morning, looking at the new solutions that NNPC has provided and how we can work it. So that is new. And that is something that we want to encourage to continue to happen. Because regardless of the kind of policies you set, government sets the policies, or in this case, NNPC sets certain policies that are business oriented, but we have to have those who are going to implement the policies, which is stations like Petron and IPMAN and MEMAN and DAPMAN stations and such like organizations. So we need to make inputs into what these policies and actions are likely going to be. And I think with that set in mind, going forward, there may be that consistent information exchange and input of ideas and ways and means to make sure that we do not get into this kind of situations. And I hope and pray that NNPC will keep that spirit alive that they have started in the course of the last few weeks. That's why you should trust us.
Okay, sir, I believe that I'll speak for a lot of Nigerians when I say that we believe that the proof is in the pudding. But I would want to ask, like, what are these specific reforms that, you want to speak about here? But also, how are we sure that this will not reoccur? This is not the first time that Nigerians have had to deal with fuel queues. So how can we be sure that the interventions that are being put in place now not only solve the current crisis, but also prevent a reoccurrence of such happening in the future?
Well, what is new is the fact that inputs are now, being required from all sides of the table. And that is a very productive and very futuristic way to solve future occurrences. Other than that, we know for certain that NNPC has products in various storages and in their vessels that are coming. So we have been more informed than where we were 2 weeks ago. And so that's quite tells the difference in why we can talk differently today.
But there have been cases where certain petrol retailers have given, their dwindling profit margins as the reason they continue to set fluctuating pump prices. I've observed in filling stations across, the minute word gets out that there's scarcity of fuel, immediately we see these petrol retailers hike the prices, and these in turn, of course, leads to this long queues and affects the consumers in terms of affordability and market stability. Is there anything that is being done to make sure that these petrol retailers are not taking advantage of the scarcity of fuel and selling at ridiculous amounts, knowing fully well that they had bought it at a set price that had been agreed on by the entire nation?
Well, in Petron, we have what is called a petroleum product passport. That is a simple technology we have developed to track our operations. We have a very highly specialized compliance team that's made of experts, some of whom have served in the industry for over 30 years, that have retired but not tired and working with us. And as president, I'm very well informed and advised by these minds. Besides that, our compliance team is efficient in as many states as have their team in place and working. So the challenge we have is some of the areas where we're hearing they sell products as high as 900, 1,000, 1,200. Our team is not very effective there. The areas where Petron is effective and very, very visible, nobody will do that unless you are not our member, because we are working very closely with the authorities, especially NMDPRA, because we have to, because they are the ones that have the authority to sanction any retail outlet. So there's nobody that wants to have their retail outlet sanctioned for any time or for any reason, because it is an investment that you must have to keep paying back. So our compliance team is working. We released a few phone numbers to the public yesterday, and that has worked very well. Commuters who have had problems in some of the states have called those numbers, and our state executives and the compliance team have run to the rescue to know exactly what it is. Some places we went and it was fluke. There was no reality in the statement. In other places that they were accused, there were no fuel at all. So we were wondering what is the sales that happened there that could have given rise to that kind of report. So now with all these experiences, we are much more armed to be able to do more. So we are hoping, that we'll be able to extend our operation to some of the northeastern states and even northwestern states, so that way we can have a common operational modality for Petron to assist the authorities, the security agencies, and also NMDPR, mostly that's our policeman, to make sure that these sharp practices are curtailed. And by the way, Petron's main objective is to ensure that petroleum products sold in our retail outlets meet the specifications of NMDPRA, that there is no hoarding, and there are no unfair adjustments of meters. So members who have complied with these rules enjoy so many benefits. So we hope that these compliance operations we have should be extended to other areas. But where they are functioning, you cannot just profiteer just like that because you want to sell product at a price you like.
All right. The assurance that you have this time around from the NMPC, will that include the thorny issues, two key issues that have always bedeviled the supply of petrol fuel in Nigeria? First will be the so-called bridging subsidy, which owners of tankers have always attributed, has been part of the reasons why supplies will be disrupted. And they are saying that there were some monies that government was meant to pay them because of the supplies across country. The amount that you will need to take product from Lagos to Port Harcourt or from Lagos to Taraba will not be the same thing, and therefore a sort of bridging subsidy was necessary. They're saying that government has reneged in paying, and that this might be part of the problems that we're having. Do you have assurances from NMPC this time around that that has been sorted? And then the second, the bigger issue, the big elephant in the house, is the issue of a continued or alleged continuous continued payment of subsidy. What will be the position of Petron when people argue that the landing cost as at today cannot be less than 800 to 900 naira. And therefore, continue to sell at 600, 620, suggests therefore that there's a kind of subsidy that is being applied, that is being borne by government. What is the position of your association on this, and do you think that subsidy is
okay, let me take them in the order that you have asked. First, NNPC has never been responsible for the equalization payment. We used to have an agency called Petroleum Equalization Fund that was responsible for that. And when subsidy came, and of course even the PIA, the PEF was, was completely taken away. And NMDPRA is now sitting on all of those responsibilities. So yes, I sympathize with my colleagues who have claims that have been lying there for so many years without being paid. But I think that that is a federal government issue with NMDPRA that should be in the saddle to make those decisions and how to do it. And of course, in Petron, we have also joined voice to request that payment should be made, because it is part of the challenge that has affected distribution very dearly. NNPC don't have any real role in that, so we cannot discuss with them about that. But we can open up that discussion with NMDPR, because a lot of our members are also involved. It's not only IPMAN. A lot of members across the sister organizations are involved. In my last discussion on this, I had made a public appeal to the NMDPRA and the federal government to come back to the drawing table on how to discuss how this equalization should be readdressed. And maybe if the policymakers and those of us who are in the grassroots business will sit together with consumers, we should be able to factor out what will make Nigeria to be much better without it digging deep into depleting the funds that should grow Nigeria's economy otherwise. And the issue of subsidy, suspected subsidy payment, again, I would like to say that Petron's position is simple. We have a government that came into effect just barely 1 year ago that announced that subsidy has been removed. And I believe that all of us in Nigeria, especially Petron, especially me, even as an individual, advocated for the removal of subsidy. But I had advocated on the premise that we should be able to discuss all the issues that should take a subsidy away without the Nigerians suffering and the economy of Nigeria, paying dearly for that. But incidentally, we didn't get to that point. And I keep saying that there's no time that is late for us to get back to the drawing board with Meman and the leadership and Dapman and Ipman and Petron and even our drivers who we engage in whatever name that they are, and also the consumers should meet with the government and let us discuss truthfully in matter of days or weeks and to come out with policies that should be able to address how subsidy affects us and what it should do. Now, if we do that, then we should be ready to face the consequences of subsidy at least 1 day before the subsidy is removed. And then what are the circumstances that we should deal with on the day that subsidy is removed? And then what we should normally expect or project to do in the future 1 day after subsidy is removed. We still think that situation should be returned back to the drawing board. And of course, in my conversations with the leadership of Meman and Dapman, that are our senior partners, we keep telling them that it's very important for them to call back those meetings, and that we should be able to look at what to do. Maybe we can proffer solutions that will take us out of that. Other than that, if the government has come out to say we are not paying subsidy, it's not in Petron's position to tell the government, oh, you are paying. One of the reasons why I cannot address the issue of landing costs is because I'm not importing. And there is no Petron member today that is importing PMS to Nigeria. So it will be difficult for any one of us to say this is how much the landing cost is. if we look at the plat and use the plat price, does it apply with NNPC's local crude oil consumption pattern and what they do with it? Does it apply with funding they must have raised one way or the other to import products for us to use? So these are things that I think that are very internal to NNPC. And so Petron will be completely incompetent to make any inputs in that. But we do ask and do insist that if there are suppositions or suspicions that subsidy is being paid behind the back door, that NNPC should address it, and the federal government should address it. In fact, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, should address Nigerians on that issue and tell us once and for all. Because I think that leadership is much more better and more easier if things are done on a transparent basis. And then even explanages are done on the basis of growing the economy of our country. That's what we need to do. And that's what I canvass and advise.
Definitely, I agree with you, Dr. Harry. Transparency is important when dealing with your citizens. But thank you so much. We are National President, Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, for being on the morning show. We appreciate your time and your analysis.